Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? Welcome to a brand new camp build. So, today I thought we'd go with something that comes up on the internet all the time and lean heavily into the modern style Alpine cabin sort of build. So let's jump in. Okay, so yeah, this sort of thing comes up on the internet all the time, and variations on this. Obviously, some of the tools I would have liked for that sort of thing, not actually available in Fallout, but we can get the spirit of the thing going, get that modern kind of Alpine cabin vibe, which has come out reasonably well, I think. So, looking at where we are on the map, there's my camp. We're just by the road here, running down to Lady Janet's soft serve, and past Twin Pine Cabins. So, just north of Vault 76 there, a little bit over to the right. But it almost looks like we're in the Toxic Valley there, but that's technically over the next hill. But yeah, nice little spot on the edge of the forest. You don't see too many people sort of building in this area either, which is a bit of a pity because there's some really nice sort of forest backdrops around it. So, structurally, at least on the surface of it, relatively simple this one. There's a couple of sort of, I wouldn't go so far as complex, but slightly more complicated bits to it. So foundation-wise, it's dead simple to start with. It is 5 wide and 3 deep. Nice and simple. See, the ground here is not quite as flat as it would appear. We've got a slope leading down to the front of it, and obviously quite a bit of a drop at the back, but we can work with that. So that's the core foundation there. We'll get some walls in. Now, we're going to be a bit all over the place with the walls here, because I'm sort of fine-tuning as I go, but I'm going to go with solid log cabin walls at the end. I want floor-to-ceiling glass around the living room, and the kitchen we'll figure out. So for now, we're going to put some half walls in the kitchen, because I definitely want solid at the bottom, as we're going to have all the appliances and stuff in there. So the kitchen's going to be on the left, living room on the right. There we go. And we're going to go 1 half wall high for the upper floor as well. So we can take these 3 tall. And we'll put a couple in on this side, and then move on to putting the upper story on, and then we can sort of see what we're working with and fill gaps as we go. So, staircase, can use the one with the runner on it with the carpet, which is there. This one dropped in sort of around about Christmas, actually. It was with a cabin set that came around that time of year. It's quite a nice little set. Doesn't entirely blend in here, but neither does anything else, apart from one set, and even that's not perfect, so. We'll run a line of floors up here, and now what I'm going to do is switch over to the half floors and go along with those, which causes problems in terms of carpeting, but I'll solve that in the decoration phase. But the advantage to it is that it's exactly half the width of the building, and it means there's a mezzanine level. It really gets plenty of sort of space and light. Whereas if you go sort of 2/3 of the way over, it feels like the gap's a bit too small. And I had to use an extra half floor there so that I could put railings on, because we'll need those. Let's get internal walls in there, or at least some of them. There we go. Doorway as well. Starting to come together now. Some half walls in here. Got a few more gaps. Get the roof on, and then I'll sort of see what size wall I need where. So, this is 3 wide. Unfortunately, this particular set, which is a Halloween set, or one of them, the older one, doesn't have a peaked centerpiece roof. So it's going to have to be flat in the middle, which I'm not overjoyed about, but we can kind of live with it, I suppose. I'll make sure the struts and roof beams there go the same way all the way across, and everything matches. Nice. Metal roofs, the basic set, actually do have a nice kind of peaked centre section that could have gone down there okay, but then it wouldn't have matched, or I'd have to have metal roofs, and that wouldn't have looked right, so. Went with the flat roof on the top instead. It works okay. So last couple of internal walls in. Some slopes on here. One of the good things about the log cabin set is it doesn't come with wallpaper, it isn't wallpaperable, so you kind of don't have to worry about double siding and stuff, which means for sort of half-height sloped roofs like this, it's a lot easier. So you can work around it with other sets, but it works nice and easy with this set. You don't have to worry. Get that doorway in when I make my mind up, which leaves us with a few more gaps to plug up. Did debate about putting a window up here, but I figured it would look daft in the end, so a big flat wall and we'll decorate it later. Let's find those halves again. Over there. And get the angled ones there on the top. There's two different versions that snap in opposite directions of those, and I feel like it's kind of unnecessary because they're the same on both sides. So one that will snap either way would have done the job. There's the railings in. And we're more or less there on the structure now. It's just the fine-tuning to do. And there is a fair bit of that to do. So get that in there, and we've got a bathroom at that end. Or we will have a bathroom at that end. Plug in the last few gaps here. Going to stick some glass in for now up there. Same over here. And this bit can be all wooden, I think. Half in, because it's right there. Right, the big one. Oh, is that plugged up? Normally, I really don't like high ceilings like this. I feel like the proportions feel really weird in the building system in Fallout. Which is fine, it's just a bit odd for me. In this occasion, actually, though, I quite like it. It kind of works in its own way. So we're jumping on a little bit here. I'm going to put some walls around the stairs here that I don't actually want enclosed or fully enclosed. So we're going to break out the flamethrower and sort of put posts in by destroying them. Unfortunately, I had wanted to do this in the living room and have sort of posts running down the length of it, but that would then mean the crossbeams would be blocking your ability to pass through, so it'd effectively still be walled down the middle, which is not quite what I wanted, so I have to do without. There we go. Bit of a challenge to get the flamethrower to work from the top of the stairs there, but a nice little frame around the stairs. Divides it off nicely, but also leaves it open. So I want to put a porch on here, but I think you could probably see my issue already. The ground is way too steep and way too close, so I'm not going to be able to get that in there. Could have built the whole thing further back. That would have solved the problem partially. But in this case, I've got another solution that I actually quite like in the end. I'm going to take these floors out for the moment. Those walls could stay there. Pull the front wall off. And we're going to lift this foundation up so that we've got something to snap to and a nice flat transition into the building. That means we're going to have this kind of just inside the door area will be a bit higher than everything else. So disconnect it from all the other foundations. That will now work. Drop these back in there. Nice. We'll have to use stone steps on these because the wooden ones were being awkward with the walls next to them. The stone ones work fine. That we'll deal with later. Now you see the big problem here. Obviously with that foundation popped up a bit, plugging the gap on top is going to be difficult because it is no longer the size of a half wall, which it was before. It was 3 halves tall. So we're going to have to come up with a bit of a cunning plan here. So my initial thought was we'll come around here, stick the floor back in. I'm going to figure out where that is. There we go. Not quite this way, but remember to use the half one first. That really matters for this temporary one, but anyway. There we go. So the original idea was grab the flamethrower, destroy the bottom wall, and then put this half one on top. You see it's not going to snap in on its own. So grab that flamethrower, point it at the wall. Whoop, missed the stairs. There we go. Yeah, and now the gap is the right size to stick the half wall in. Unfortunately, the game thinks I'm trying to snap to a destroyed wall here, rather than the floor, so that's not going to work. What will work is the opposite. If I snap the half wall in first, now the game knows it's trying to snap to the upper floor, and that's not a problem. Obviously, this won't just go straight through it, so we'll put the floor back again. There we go. That'll do it. Stick the flamethrower here and destroy the upper wall. Now we're not trying to snap to that, we're trying to snap to the floor. So it'll go through just fine. And we'll repair that. And there we go. Gap is plugged. A little bit of weirdness with the textures, of course, but once I've got the porches and stuff on, you really won't notice it at all. Well, kind of hides it quite nicely there as well. Worked out quite well. Around. Extend this line all the way along, and we're very nearly there now. Just the last bit of fine-tuning to do before we go and decorate. So I want to swap this wall out here for 2 more glass ones, so that the entire back wall of this living space is made of glass. And we're going to run upstairs And I'm going to move a couple of things around. We're just going to have the one glass wall, which is going to be the left hand of these two, and make this wooden walls up here, just because it's going to be a bedroom, and that does want to be closed off a bit. So, on that note, we have a structure in place. I think it's time to head off and decorate this thing. So, I'll catch you in the finished tour in just a moment. I want to put this last foundation back in. And here we go, tour time. So I thought we'd have a look around this place in the evening, as the lighting has come out quite nicely in this. Nothing really crazy artistic about it, but it just kind of works with the building. It's not too much, it's not too little. It just looks right for me, so I thought we'd do it in the evening. So a little lean-to that I attached on the side here so that I could squeeze a generator in and have it be somewhat protected from people shooting at it. Because I wanted to put the decon arch in here, and that means I need quite a lot of power, so fusion core generator it was. If you didn't want to do that, you could use basically anything else and avoid the lean-to if you wanted. But it does change the shape of the structure up a little bit as well, which is not such a bad thing. There we go. A couple of extra bits of decoration down in there just to dress it up a little bit. It's not particularly used space, but makes it look a little better as you happen to wander on past. I should say the budget on this thing, by the way, is absolutely crammed to the max. It's a decent sized space, and I put quite a lot of decoration in. So I just dropped the new windmill generator tower in there, which is really, really nice. I thought it would just kind of put a nice feature on this end. Also, running wires all the way around was proving to be awkward at times, so having some power on that side wasn't a bad thing. So coming down here, I needed somewhere to put my crafting benches that wasn't in the house, because with the exception of cooking, that just does look a bit weird when they're in an ordinary house. So I put a few of them out here on the porch. That's my vendor over that way, with a little bit of extra dressing as well. And attached a little area out back as well for some extra crafting space as well, but we'll get to that in a minute. There we go. I'll head on in. Got a little raised entryway here. Now, I really like how this has come out. It feels posh, I think would be a good word. Because the vibe I was going for was definitely posh, and I think we managed to land that all right. That's the biggest dining table we've got tucked in there. I mean, there's some that are a little bit wider, but in terms of how long it is. And it works in this space. It doesn't feel too big. In fact, if anything, it feels maybe a tiny little bit too small. This is the new fireplace, which I can't remember if it was the end of the last season or the start of this season, one or the other. But it's a pretty good fireplace, that one, and it also has extension caps that you can put on the top of it to make it taller if you want, which I did actually use here. Heading on into the kitchen, this is one that in a lot of cases I would not go for, this kind of design vibe, but it really kind of came out okay here. I quite like it, and that's particularly with the really high ceiling. As I said before, I don't normally like that. I feel like it looks weird, but here, I'm okay with it. It works. We've got a few extra counters around. Work the cooking station into the gap there. A few extra bits to just kind of dress up the back edge here by the beams. Quite like how that looks. Like I say, I ran out of decoration options, so I would have put more on that table otherwise, but it is what it is. Got our ice machine and laundry space under the stairs, because there really is nowhere else in this house it will fit. And as you see, I changed this wall out for a back door so that we can get out here to a little porch that I dropped on the side. Just used the foundation to put this a little bit lower than the main house. So 2 foundations out and then drop the one that's a bit further out. To create a little crafting space. And it's dead simple, this. But I needed somewhere for these last few benches, and I didn't want to pack them in out front. It just wouldn't have looked right. But a little bit of space along the back, we can work with that. There's the glass walls from the living space that I thought it would be best if those didn't sort of overlap with the porch on the back there. Especially as we're packing it full of crafting benches. Got 2 fridges in here, but they kind of set a nice kind of bookend vibe for the countertops there, so quite happy with how that looks. Yes, come out nicely. The level of detail in this and stuff does kind of hit the frame rate a little bit, just a little, but it's manageable. It stays upward of 60, but still does drop a little bit, which is not ideal. There we go, little office space in here. I quite like that chair. Quite glad I decided to use that. A little space to relax and read a comic book if you'd like, which I often like to do. We'll spin around here and have a look at the bathroom. This stone wall on the right, by the way, is the top of the chimney, and we'll come back to that in a second. There we go. Fairly simple. We really didn't do much with the bathroom here. Kept it as simple as I could. Haven't got the clean bath yet. That's on the current scoreboard, so in the next few weeks we should have that one. It should hopefully be the last time I have to have a dirty bath in a room with clean toilets and sinks, but as we don't have a dirty sink either way I was stuck with something that was not going to be clean. So yeah, nice little bedroom. Obviously the half-width floor here that we're standing on at the moment doesn't have carpet options, which is slightly frustrating, but it is what it is. So I just used the long floor runner hallway rug thing there on the top of it, just to kind of break it up a little bit and draw the eye away from it, distract from the fact it doesn't have anything, which works okay. So there, as I said before, that's the top of the chimney. Now these are two sort of blocks that snap directly onto the top of the fireplace below. Normally they don't go through floors, so in this case what I did was pull the floor out, snap those chimney blocks on the top, hit them with a flamethrower, and then just put the floor back in. So it worked quite nicely to create a smooth chimney that goes all the way up from the top of the fireplace to the roof. I could probably have done the same thing with the roof and had it stick out there if I wanted. There's no kind of chimney pot top to it, so it wouldn't have looked that great if it was sticking out anyway, so probably not worth doing that. But you sort of see it right where it runs all the way up through the centre of the building there, which looks quite nice, I think. Yeah, quite happy with how this one came out. So, hope you folks enjoyed that one. If you did, and you got a few ideas and a little inspiration maybe, please do consider dropping subs and likes. I very much appreciate it. As always, down below you'll find social media links, merch store, channel memberships, all those other good buttons that really help out if you're interested in supporting the channel. I massively appreciate it. And if you get a chance to join us for live streams as well, we're jumping back into 76 later on this evening. And we are playing a Resident Evil 4 remake as well at the moment. We've just kicked that one off, which is really cool. Really enjoying that so far. So do join us for that one. But for now, thank you very much for watching, and I look forward to speaking to you all very soon.